From the outside, Daniel and Claire Morgan looked like the kind of couple people envied. Their suburban home in Chicago gleamed with the quiet success of two professionals who had made it. He was a software engineer with a patient smile. She was a marketing executive with an unstoppable drive. Together they looked complete, the polished photo of the American dream. But every perfect frame hides its cracks. Tea began on a Thursday night, the kind that hummed with rain against the windows and the faint smell of burnt coffee. Daniel sat in the living room, laptop half open, watching the clock tick past 9 p.m. Claire was still at the office, again. She'd texted earlier. Running late, big campaign tomorrow. Don't wait up. He reread it 3 times, not because of what it said, but because of what it didn't say. "Oh, I love you. No, miss you." Just business, emojis, and distance. When she finally came home after 11 o'clock, perfume trailed her like a story he wasn't meant to hear. Daniel smiled anyway, because that's what husbands do when they want to believe the best. "Long day?" he asked, shutting his laptop. She exhaled dramatically, tossing her purse on the couch. "You have no idea. Ethan had us revising the campaign presentation for hours." Ethan. That name had become too familiar lately. Daniel nodded, forcing warmth into his voice. "The boss again, huh? Must be tough keeping up with him." Claire's lips curved slightly, but her eyes avoided his. "He's demanding, yeah. But that's how he gets results." She disappeared into the bedroom, her phone still in hand. Daniel stared after her. Something in the rhythm of her movements had changed. Too quick. Too guilty. The next morning, Daniel left early for work but didn't go straight to the office. Instead, he parked across from Claire's building, watching as employees trickled in. At 8:42, her car appeared, sleek, silver, spotless. She stepped out, dressed sharply in a navy skirt suit. A few moments later, Ethan Caldwell himself arrived, tall, confident, the kind of man whose handshake could end arguments. Daniel noticed the way Ethan leaned in to greet her. Not a handshake. Not quite a hug either. Something intimate, coated in subtlety, a moment that lasted just a second too long. He clenched his jaw. That was all he needed to see that evening. Claire came home glowing. "Guess what? Ethan wants me to lead the next client presentation in New York. It's a huge opportunity, Daniel." He smiled faintly. "That's great. When's the trip?" "Next week. 2 days. The company's covering everything." "Who's going?" She hesitated for half a second, so short most people would have missed it. "Just me and Ethan. We'll meet the clients together." There it was, the confirmation dressed as coincidence. Daniel said nothing more. Just nodded, kissed her forehead, and went back to his laptop. But that night, as she showered, he quietly slipped her phone from the nightstand. The passcode was the same, their wedding anniversary. He opened her messages. Nothing suspicious. Then the email app. One new mail caught his attention, from Caldwell, Ethan. "Booked your hotel under your name. Same floor as mine. Let's make sure the presentation leaves a lasting impression." He closed the phone and placed it back exactly where it was. The room felt colder now. The following days passed like a movie on mute. Claire acted normal, kissed him goodbye, sent texts during lunch, called at night. But Daniel heard the lies between her words. He wasn't angry anymore. Anger was too easy. What he felt was worse. Clarity. He started collecting details. The flight number. The hotel. The date. He contacted a friend who worked in security and asked for a favor, a camera feed, a copy of the itinerary, anything. By the time Claire packed for her business trip, Daniel already knew exactly what was going to happen. He just needed to decide when to act. The day of the trip came. She looked radiant, almost too radiant. Her red lipstick matched the excitement in her eyes. "Wish me luck," she asked, zipping her suitcase. Daniel walked up, kissed her cheek and whispered, "You won't need luck, Claire. You've already won." She laughed softly, not understanding. He watched her drive off, the car fading into traffic, unaware she'd just left behind a man who had already begun to plan her downfall. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in the dark, scrolling through the hotel's live security footage on his laptop. It was all there, her walking into Ethan's room at 10:37 p.m. No presentation files, no laptop bag. Just her clutch purse and a nervous smile. He didn't cry. Didn't rage, he simply closed the laptop and whispered to himself, "Not yet." Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat by the faint blue glow of his laptop, watching the seconds stretch into dawn. When the screen finally went dark, he closed it gently, not in anger, but with finality. Something inside him had died, and in its place, a quiet, strategic patience was born. Claire returned 2 days later, radiant and exhausted. She came through the door wearing the same perfume, the same practiced smile, except this time it lingered too long. "New York was amazing," she said, her voice light and rehearsed. "The clients loved our pitch. Ethan said I nailed it." Daniel smiled, masking the truth behind calm eyes. "I'm proud of you." And he was, in a way. Proud that she could lie so beautifully. Proud that she thought she was untouchable. Over the next few weeks, the distance between them grew, disguised by routine. She began staying out later. Working weekends. Networking events, she'd say, or after-hour strategy meetings. Daniel didn't argue. He simply listened, nodding at every excuse, storing them like puzzle pieces in a box that was slowly forming a perfect picture. Meanwhile, Claire felt more alive than she had in years. With Ethan, she felt seen, admired, even desired. He told her she was different, that she had potential, that she belonged at the top. Every compliment was a spark, every meeting a flame. At first, she hesitated. The guilt came in waves, but each time she silenced it with another lie, to herself, to her husband, to everyone around her. Ethan made it easy, was powerful, charming, and reckless in a way that made her feel unstoppable. The office became their playground, glances in meetings, texts hidden behind work emails, fleeting touches when no one watched. And when people did watch, Ethan didn't seem to care. "Relax," he'd whisper. "You're the best employee I've got. Nobody questions the boss's favorite." Claire laughed, but inside, she knew they were playing with fire. The thrill made her feel young again, wanted, invincible. But every secret burns brighter just before it catches everything else on fire. Daniel noticed the changes easily now. The new clothes. The expensive perfume. The sudden interest in her appearance before work dinners. One night, he quietly installed a backup tracker app on her phone, something subtle, invisible. He told himself it wasn't revenge. It was confirmation. The app mapped her every move, syncing locations and timestamps. What it showed over the next month didn't surprise him anymore. Hotel meetups, office weekends, long hours that had nothing to do with marketing campaigns. Still, he said nothing. The silence became his greatest weapon. He smiled at breakfast, kissed her goodbye, even texted her sweet reminders during her late nights. And each time she replied with heart emojis and half-truths, Daniel's patience grew sharper. He wasn't going to explode. He was going to end this, methodically. Meanwhile, at the office, Ethan's charm turned possessive. He started promising Claire things he couldn't guarantee: promotions, pay raises, even a seat in senior management. "You've got what it takes," he told her one evening after another reckless encounter in his office. "You're the future of this company, Claire. Stick with me, and I'll make sure you never have to answer to anyone again." She believed him. Every word. The more she fell for the illusion, the more she pulled away from Daniel, mentally first, then emotionally, and finally physically. She began to resent his calmness. His quiet love now irritated her. His patience, once comforting, now felt suffocating. She didn't know that his silence wasn't ignorance. It was strategy. One Thursday evening, she came home late again, past 10. Her hair was slightly undone, her lipstick faintly smudged. Daniel sat on the couch, watching a muted news broadcast. "You're late," he said softly. "Yes," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "We had a surprise audit meeting. Ethan needed everyone to stay." Daniel nodded. "You must be tired. Want some tea?" She froze for a second, surprised by his kindness. "Sure," she said as he boiled the water. She noticed how calm he seemed. How peaceful. It made her uneasy. "Daniel," she started, "you've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" He turned, smiling faintly. "Everything's perfect, Claire." And he meant it, because every lie she told brought him one step closer to perfection. The next morning, Daniel sent an anonymous email to the company's HR department, attaching 3 grainy images, courtesy of his hidden camera software. Didn't hit send yet, just saved it as a draft. Because the time wasn't right. Not yet. He wanted this to end publicly permanently, so he waited. Waited while Claire bragged about an upcoming corporate gala, the company's biggest event of the year. Waited as Ethan announced she'd be receiving a special leadership award for her hard work. Waited as the universe slowly aligned the stage for her downfall. And every night, while she drifted to sleep beside him, Daniel stared at the ceiling, calm, patient, unshakable, rehearsing the moment when he'd finally reveal everything. Claire thought she was winning. Ethan thought he was untouchable. But Daniel Morgan had already written the final scene. And when the curtains finally fell, neither of them would ever recover. For weeks, Daniel moved like a man possessed by calm purpose. He didn't rage, didn't break down, didn't accuse. Instead, he studied every detail, every routine, every weakness. Claire's lies had become predictable now. Her stories fit together too neatly, her excuses too polished. And the more she thought she was getting away with it, the easier she was to read. She no longer tried to hide her calls. Ethan's name appeared as Eric on her screen, a change Daniel had noticed immediately. She'd even begun smiling at texts she never explained. Daniel said nothing, was saving every smile, every lie, every secret for one perfect night. Claire's birthday fell on a Saturday that year. The week before, she'd mentioned it casually over breakfast. I might have to work late that night, she said, stirring her coffee. We're finalizing the event for the company gala. Ethan wants everything perfect. Daniel's lips curved slightly. That's all right, he replied softly. We can celebrate when you're done. Maybe I'll surprise you. She smiled faintly, distracted. That would be nice. He watched her leave that morning, her heels tapping against the tiles, and in that sound he heard his countdown begin. The gala was the highlight of the year for Caldwell and Pierce Marketing Group, glittering event of champagne, silk gowns, and self-congratulation. Executives, clients, and families gathered to toast another year of integrity and innovation. This year, the spotlight would be brighter than ever, because Ethan Caldwell himself had chosen one employee for a special leadership award. The recipient, Claire Morgan. She had no idea that the man sleeping beside her every night had personally helped make sure that spotlight would burn. Daniel began quietly, reached out to Ethan's wife, Marissa Caldwell, under the guise of a client inquiry. A kind woman in her early 40s, Marissa was polite but wary. She had long suspected her husband's infidelity but had no proof. Daniel didn't give her everything, not yet. He simply asked if she'd be attending the gala. When she said yes, he smiled. Good, he said. You deserve to see the truth firsthand. The day of the gala came with clear skies and a kind of electric calm, the kind that always hangs before a storm. Claire spent hours getting ready, slipping into a silver evening dress that shimmered like moonlight. She looked breathtaking, but Daniel couldn't see her the same way anymore. Do I look okay? She asked, fastening her earrings. He looked at her reflection in the mirror, the same woman he once believed would never lie to him. You look perfect, he said. And meant it, because tonight she would be. The ballroom at the Regal Grand Hotel was a cathedral of luxury, chandeliers glittering above polished floors, waiters gliding with silver trays, cameras flashing as guests arrived in waves of color and laughter. Claire felt radiant, walking beside Ethan as colleagues congratulated her. She didn't notice the quiet glances between Daniel and the event technicians, or the laptop bag he carried, blending perfectly into the crowd. Daniel greeted people warmly, shook hands, smiled like a man who belonged there. No one knew he wasn't part of the company, was part of the plan. The ceremony began with the usual speeches, glowing words about hard work, innovation, and trust. Ethan stood at the podium, confident and charming, a man adored by his employees. Tonight, he said proudly, we celebrate not just success, but the people who make success possible. And one of them has shown exceptional leadership, creativity, and dedication. He turned toward Claire, smiling. Mrs. Claire Morgan. Applause thundered through the room. Claire's heart raced as she stood, cheeks flushed with pride. She took the stage, her silver dress catching the light. Daniel watched from the back of the room, still, quiet, unreadable. Ethan handed her a crystal plaque and leaned in. You earned this, he whispered. Cameras flashed. Applause swelled. And then the lights dimmed a flicker. Then the giant projector screen behind the stage came alive. First, everyone thought it was part of the presentation. A slideshow of photos, maybe a highlight reel. But the first image wasn't corporate. It was a still shot from a security camera. Claire, standing in a hotel hallway, knocking on Ethan's room door. Gasps rippled through the audience. The next image appeared, Claire entering the room. Ethan greeting her. A timestamp. Ethan froze. His smile died instantly. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. The crowd fell silent. Then came the emails, screenshots filling the screen one by one. Booked your room same floor as mine. Make sure the presentation leaves a lasting impression. You looked stunning tonight. Each slide burned through the room like a blade of light. Claire turned to Daniel, pale and shaking. "Daniel, what are you doing?" she whispered, her voice breaking. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The whispers had already begun. The cameras. The shock. The betrayal blooming in real time. Ethan stepped forward, face tight with panic. "Turn it off," he barked at the staff. But no one moved. Daniel walked calmly to the stage. His voice, when he spoke, was steady. "I didn't come here to ruin anyone's night," he said, the microphone amplifying every word. "I just thought everyone deserved to see what integrity looks like, behind the scenes." The silence was crushing. Ethan's wife, Marissa, stood near the back, tears glistening, hands trembling as she stared at the screen. Claire's knees buckled slightly. "Please, Daniel," she whispered, tears streaking her mascara. He looked at her, not with hatred, not even anger. "Just sorrow. You should've told me the truth," he said softly. "You could have spared us both this." Then he turned, set the microphone down, and walked off the stage. Behind him the chaos erupted, voices rising, phones flashing, Ethan shouting orders that no one followed. Claire stood frozen in the center of the stage, a perfect picture of ruin beneath the harsh white light. Outside, the night air was cold, quiet, and strangely peaceful. Daniel stepped into it and took a deep breath. For the first time in months, he felt weightless. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Inside that ballroom, truth had already done what vengeance never could. Be why mourning. The videos would be everywhere. Claire's career gone. Ethan's marriage, finished. The empire they'd built on lies, shattered. Daniel didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply got into his car, started the engine, and whispered to himself, "It's over." And as the city lights blurred past his windshield, he realized something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, not relief, but peace. The kind of peace that only comes after fire.